We are live right now, and it's been quite an eventful Grand Prix. I think there are some definite surprises right here. There there has been some lessons that I believe teams probably have learned here that they didn't expect. Piastri, congratulations to the brother. He just won the Chinese GP. That'll be his third victory. Lando Norris coming in second, adding more points still to his champion campaign. Big shout out to Paul. Big shout out to Mary Beanie. Norris did a good job, especially with the brake situation. I also think there is a surprise here with Russell. I think this is on merit and strategy. Russell getting in there in third on another podium is good for Mercedes. Antonelli in the points, as we see, coming in 8th place. And I told you all that if Antonelli can finish in the points throughout the season, there is that is a successful that just is a successful season for a rookie. And here he is again. He's in 8th. He's not. I don't think he's getting promoted for any incidents or anything that's going to be necessarily investigated on track. So I think that's probably going to be his position unless we see something different kind of come out of the documents. I think that's going to be it, which to me is still very good. Max Verstappen, again, not a race winner and not on podium. So I know there was a lot of clamor about, about this. Max Verstappen was going to come out and just be rash. I also even said that Max Verstappen and Red Bull were dominant here last year. And I also said that it's going to be something to be seen if they're not where McLaren and other teams are in perspective to Red Bull. And I think right now what we see in perspective to Red Bull, they are now surrounded with competitive teams. And I would even have a very small debate. I would even have a very, very small debate. And first of all, good morning to everybody too. DG Big Blue, Navy, Ura, Mary Beanie, Sylvia Witt, Kelly in here, and Galactus. What's going on, fam? I would even have a small debate that if Antonelli was, in which he will get there, he'll get more seasoned, he'll gain more experience. And with that experience, but let me just hypothetically speaking here, that if he was more seasoned, that 8th place could very well be splitting Leclerc and Verstappen, or even maybe in front of Verstappen. And you never know what that is. So I think they're gonna make a big deal about Antonelli being a rookie and how he's finishing, and I like it for them to do it. I mean, I'm cool with him doing it because he should get he should get that applause. It's not an accolade, but he should get that applause. But I told you all last season, Pia is my dog. Pia is my other driver that I root for other than Max Verstappen. I'm also fully on board with rooting for Albon. Albon is in the points again. Williams is doing a phenomenal job. I just wish they would do a phenomenal job with both cars. And it's going to take some time. I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that to a very marginal degree with Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Now, Lewis Hamilton is a far better driver than Carlos Sainz. Okay, so his ability to learn, his learning curve is not going to be the same as Carlos Sainz. It will be a awesome thing when Carlos Sainz is able to go ahead, learn the car so he can get in there, do a better drive, and put both of these Williams cars in the points. That is really what I would like to see. I would hope that is something that could happen. And right now it's just not the case, but there is a very optimistic look to what we are seeing from Albon. All right. I'm not we know that it's there. Now, what I did say, and I did say this, so I gotta say I said it because I did say it. I did feel that when Carlos came into the team, I felt that Carlos would be that driver that would become the new standard. And now Albon would be under pressure as far as where he would need to prove himself. Well, Albon is proving himself. Mechanic Mercedes in the super chat saying bad setup for Ferrari. Yo, Mechanic Mercedes, let's talk about that, bro, because there's an old saying, and I said it to myself when I saw what took place with Ferrari as far as with Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. And what I said is, my grandfather told me, don't fix it if it's not broke. If it's working and it's good, don't fix it. Leave it alone. Much like Ferrari did with the end plate of Charles Leclerc breaking off. And I think this is where teams may also learn for next season, the next time they visit Shanghai, is that there was an experiment that happened in real time, a couple of experiments actually that happened in real time at this circuit. The first one was the assumption that Charles Leclerc's front wing end plate being lost was going to be such an impact that it would impact him negatively. I'm not saying maybe the structural, randomness of it, because it's not something that was formed up to happen. But I am saying that the variables around that front wing end plate, that front wing being compromised, lessening the downforce on that front left tire, which is a tire that everybody was suffering as far as DEG, right? Now maybe the team sit back and say, maybe we need to consider this for the next setup. Maybe we need to consider a setup that's a little bit odd, that will give a little bit less downforce on the left tire and even out the DEG throughout the race. Because many people thought that Leclerc was going to have to come in and just have that front wing changed right away. It's going to have to happen. It didn't need to happen. Not only that, Leclerc, and we talked about this too, and I told you all that it was too early to assume that, okay, all of a sudden Lewis Hamilton was going to be the only driver. He's always going to get those orders. And I said, don't be surprised that if later on in the season or some races later, you see that is inverse. Charles will get the orders to go ahead and Lewis Hamilton will be asked to just let him by. And it happened in the very next race. This is round 2. It happened in the very next race. Hamilton needing to go get by and let by and let his teammate go ahead and scoot by. The Leon son says Ferrari did the wrong tire for Lewis. Behrman showed that the mediums are the tires to use. Ferrari will learn and get better in the future. I honestly, I think what these teams saw is the hard tire was the tire to use. Hard tire, man. The hard tire was a surprise. Nobody was really utilizing that all weekend. They were staying away from it. Pirelli was pumping up tire pressure. And I'm I'm trying to really figure out why nobody thought about this, because in my mind, when I heard that Pirelli were trying to pump up tire pressure, I heard about tire DEG. Immediately, I thought, okay, we're going to try a hard tire here, because the hard tire in most time in these situations is the tire we need to check out. We got high tire DEG. We got Pirelli trying to change the parameters of pressure to make sure that their tires last us in this race. I didn't know why this became such a surprise, because I already thought somebody should be definitely using a hard tire, but it wasn't. It was found out in this race that the hard tire actually was the star of the show. I mean, we had Ollie Behrman go almost Ollie and Stroll both, I think, 20 something plus? It was like 24 something plus laps. 20 plus laps Behrman had done on a hard tire, and even more. And as you see right here, you're talking about, damn, look at this, 40, 41, 43, 19, 45. The hard tire was the thing to go. So I think the tire strategy might be looked at next time, although we can't say what the temperature is going to be. They were expecting rain towards the end of this race. Didn't really. I don't recall anybody talking about any type of sprinkles or any rain actually falling. So let's just say that the temperature, the track temp, air temp, everything's kind of similar. I think the teams learned something about the hard tire in this race and what could happen over the time, especially if they have the supporting races prior to them having their GP. I think the hard tire will be something looked at. I think the tire strategy will be different. Also, keep in mind, Lewis Hamilton, the fastest lap. There is no more point for that in this season. He gets the fastest lap, though. So that is something that Ferrari needs to take away. But as we were talking about mechanic Mercedes, and big shout out to Maria Duncan. Good morning, Jay. I don't know what happened to Lewis Pace in the race. However, he should have taped a note to the car after this sprint and said, "Do not touch my car." Yes, just as the Leon Sun mechanic Mercedes, you're absolutely right, and that is what I was getting into before I got lost down the rabbit hole of the hard tire situation. My grandfather said, "If it's not broke, don't fix it." And I said this to myself immediately when Lewis went into the sprint, quali, pole, went into the sprint race, won that. Came out quali, what the hell happened? Well, what happened is the team touched the car. The team made some adjustments, and those adjustments, and as you heard David Coulthard, which I don't even like to quote him a lot, I know a lot of people look at him like as if he's Red Bull's whore, because sometimes he can be, very max ball licking, but there's a small nuance there for me to kind of understand what they're doing. It's still very early in the season. Okay. So yeah, we've done good. You got pole position. You got the sprint race. Now what we need to do is we need to dial it up and see how much more performance we can get out of this car. And this is where things went horribly wrong. But I feel as if, you know what, let's take a look at that. I think that's something that we should take a look into. If it's possible for me to bring that up, let's see if we could take a look into that situation and kind of look at some times between the results that were finished here in the sprint quali, the sprint race, and then actual qualifying of Lewis Hamilton compared to other drivers. And I think maybe that'll give us some. So if we look at sprint quali, and I'm going to try to bring this up on screen real quick so we could check this out and just kind of compare. That way we could talk a little bit more in context of what actually is and kind of look at some things, and maybe we look at it through a little bit different of lens if we check these out. Big shout out to Maria Duncan on the super chat too. Very, very good question. And like I said myself, I had the same concerns as why would you do it? But then, like I said, I thought about this nuance that we're trying to find as much performance as we can before it gets later in the season. What if they had made that change and we saw that Lewis's car was absolutely faster? They need to find their parameters with this car currently in its stage that it is before they start making updates. And even so, when they make updates, maybe this is information that helps them make the updates. But if we go into right here, this is going to be the sprint quali, okay? This is where Lewis Hamilton grabbed pole position for the sprint. You'll see that his Q3 time in that was 1:30.849. Okay, Max Verstappen behind by 200ths at 1:30.867. Okay, so he gets that there. So then if we go into the actual sprint race, we'll see here that the sprint race that Lewis Hamilton wins that, retired, whole time of that. We don't have his fastest lap. So we need, my apologies. I was going to go into the qualifying. So if we go into the qualifying where we thought things were wrong, we see that Lewis Hamilton's best time in Q3 is 1:30.92. The time that got pole position in quali is 1:30.64. Then you got Russell with a 1:30.723, a 1:30.793. So you're in the 1:30.7s, and Oscar clears the 7s and goes into sub 6s, 1:30.6. Well, if that's the case, sprint quali lap by Lewis Hamilton, 1:30.849. doesn't really put him in a very good situation. At 138.49, he's sitting behind Max Verstappen just as he is right now. They got a 130.829, so 130.849, he's still behind Max with that time, even if they don't touch the car. So you can almost look at it as if, did they really lose something? Yeah, maybe you say, okay, throughout the course of the race, but 130.849 would not have even got him pole position here. And I don't know what else he could have squeezed out of the car. Maybe they make the wrong adjustment. Maybe if they make the right adjustment, we're looking at something better than this 0.92. But they definitely did lose something. But what they did lose and what they had accomplished in the sprint quali was not something that was going to, if they stayed, made no change at all, was going to grab them a pole position for the starting grid of the race. That wasn't going to happen with those numbers. Now, the Leon says Spanish commentary team is better than English. Spanish commentary team. Hey, I don't doubt it at all, bro. I've listened to Spanish, and yeah, it can be quite exciting. They do a good job at making it exciting, and I think you're right about that. And, you know, have you all ever realized that, and once I say this, I want to know how many of you just kind of clue in on it and how repetitive it gets to you. But, you know, Alex does it, Palmer does it, and I'm gonna tell you right now, somebody who does it, who always is trying to throw shade on Americans in the measure that they use of standard, and his name escapes me because it's just, I don't even really think much about him. I kind of forget about him. Like he reminds me of, I always say he's Mr. Potato Head when I see him, but I will bring it up right now. Let me see. Every time I do this, I think about who I want to say something about, and then once I think about them, their name just goes out because a lot of times I'm just kind of done with them. But damn, what's his name? Man, what is my guy's name, man? His name just escapes me that bad already. It's kind of crazy. His name escapes me, but I'm gonna come up with it as soon as I think about it. Let me see. Yeah, his name escapes me. I lost his name. I did an episode about him one time, talking about him as far as he was dissing a lot of Americans in the standard that they use, but I don't damn know, man. Some of you all, maybe somebody put it in the chat for me. He does a lot of the technical shows for Formula One. Nasty Sue said, did Leclerc produce better downforce than Lewis Hamilton? No, I think it's the other way around. Yeah, I think it's better downforce, but I think honestly it was less downforce on the left tire. I think that's what happened. And Nasty Sue, that's what we were talking about too, as far as that probably being something that teams were looking at. It's Sam Collins, DGB Blue, thank you very much. It's Sam Collins. And Sam Collins does it a lot. They put an R in words where the R does not exist at all. It's not even silent. It's just purely not there. Like China, there's no R in China. And Alex Brundle did it several times over the weekend. China, Palmer, Dater, there's no R in Dater. There's data. I mean, they put an R in words that don't have R's in them all the time. And for Sam Collins to put a dig on Americans as far as, I don't know why they would use that metric of measuring, it just makes sense. Yeah, bro, you put letters in words that don't exist, and they do it all the time. And if you listen to them now, you're going to hear it. Honda, there's no R in Honda. There's no R in Honda. It seems like any word that ends with an A, they want to put an R on it. Honda, Dater, China is crazy to me. It drives me crazy. I catch it all the time when they're talking, and it's kind of like, man. So to your regard, yes, I have listened to Spanish commentators, and they are very exciting, and actually they make you hype. They kind of get you pumped up in the mood when you're playing music, and it's like, oh man, I'm ready to go lift 315 pounds. But yeah, the Leon Son, thoughts on Yuki second. Yo, I'm gonna say this, man. Yuki hit another bad stretch right now with the situation that happened. Yuki falling out of the points due to a premature failure all the way down to 19th, man. And I'm still not getting Lim Lawson, you're top 15, but you're not there. And you were sold to us, you were advertised to us as something that was going to be a bit of a golden boy for Red Bull, and they were putting this up in front of us as Max Verstappen, Liam Lawson, 2 golden boys of Red Bull, and this was going to come out be a smashing season. It's not that. Yuki had a situation happen he couldn't do anything about. There was nothing he could do about premature failure. That's not his job, and that front wing just failed. It just absolutely failed. And because of that, he lost positions and had to get called in at a very minimal time for him to make up any distance on that. And the same thing with Lewis Hamilton going into Ferrari again. Ferrari not making the best calls. We talked about this before, that Ferrari have a tendency to do this, not make the best calls. And here it is again. It's kind of not the worst. The last time it was the worst when 2 drivers just tumbled down the order. But this was still, they got to clean these things up. They got to clean them up, okay? They just have to. They got to clean this stuff up. And I'm not even mad about a lot of people. I think, not a lot of people. Let me not say a lot of people. I think some people are going to try to make something of 5 and 6, Lewis Hamilton behind Leclerc, also having the fastest lap. So it shows he had good pace over that. Leclerc is on older tires, Lewis Hamilton making the pit, but I think they're going to try to make something of this team orders thing, okay? And Lewis Hamilton coming in and saying that, yo, it's not the time to switch right now. He's not saying that I'm not going to switch. People are going to turn this around. They're going to try to manipulate this. It's not what was going on. You listen to his tone. You listen to everything. He's not saying I'm not going to switch. He's not saying, no, I don't give a damn about my teammate, much like Max Verstappen did to Sergio Perez several times. He was saying that if we switch right now, we'll be doing more damage than good. And right when they tried to bring in the orders, Lewis Hamilton was already approaching the nepotism baby of Aston Martin Stroll. We need to get by him. It makes no sense for us to switch there. And you could kind of get a small glimpse of what was going to happen if they tried that switch, because you see getting by Stroll is going to cost Lewis Hamilton time. You got to make the move. It costs Leclerc a little distance because you got to make the move, and then you're behind that. And we've seen several times that if somebody makes a mistake in front, you can let 2 cars through. This is the same thing. If you make this mistake, you don't know what we're trying to switch, and we got another variable in here that we're not in control of. We're not in control of the Aston Martin car. The Aston Martin car doesn't necessarily know what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. And then after that, they're going to reach other traffic. So Lewis Hamilton was just saying, yo, I'm going to let you know when it's the proper time. I don't want to make a switch right now, right away, that's going to cost me and us extra points in a race. And I don't want to make a switch where we're going to bring in other variables that we don't control, and then we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so he made the switch at the proper time. That's it. And there's nothing else more to it. He made the switch at the proper time. Also, I think it'd be oddly funny that people are likely going to all of a sudden start talking about, listen, dude, people are so delusional. People are so delusional. And really, I'm going to tell you why they're this delusional. Really, they're this delusional because they're either scared of what Lewis Hamilton may likely have the opportunity to do in a Ferrari if they get it right, or they don't like somebody who's done the greatest things in Formula One because they don't look like them or look like the guy they think should be there. Imagine how many people are going to try to say right now, oh, Charles Leclerc, broken front wing, school Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton has the fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton qualied for sprint. Let's not forget that. Do we need to go over that again? Do we need to go over that? Quali for sprint, and he won the sprint race. But you're so quick to try to dismiss that. Let's talk about your dog. Let's talk about 4-time world champion equaling Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen. He's not on podium. While you want to try to pump out a bunch of stats, pump these stats out. Pump these stats out. Let me let you pump these out, because it's crazy to me. I'm not going to let you forget, because a lot of people are going to try to sit up here and talk, but let's pump this out, because I talked about this last year. This is what your dog's season, back half of his season, looked like. If he doesn't front load the season, he's not a world champion. And what I told you all is, if he starts off the season like he ended his last season, greatly, let me tell you 2 variables. He front loaded the season, and McLaren fumbled up not knowing how good they were. If Max Verstappen his season's going to look like his season's just starting like it ended, he's not a world champion. You're not a world champion with that. You're in close contention, but you're not a world champion. And right now, he's fourth, not on the podium. He hasn't won a race. It's still early. Round 2. I get it. Anything could happen because it could happen. Red Bull could turn up, make some changes, make some updates, progress. Next thing you know, Max Verstappen's at the front of the grid. I'm cool with that. That's how racing goes. I'm cool with that. But if you're talking right now, you need to look at the environment that you're in right now before you go talking about some other driver. Another time where we also sit here, I'm not going to throw any shade at Alonso, another premature brake failure, but there's somebody else for you to talk about. McLaren is 1-2 right now. And I told you this, the Leon Sun in the super chat says, that is why I like the Spanish commentary team, because they example that and then they praise Lewis for the message. Hey, they keep it a bit more a buck. They keep it a buck, a bit more. And I've even heard some Spanish commentators check the other commentator on something. I've heard Spanish commentators get into arguments on live broadcasts. It's awesome. It is awesome. But yeah, this is where we are. George Russell is in front of Max Verstappen. George Russell's in front of, I will say this. Another time, and I'm finna credit Max Verstappen here because I'm just keeping it a buck. Because this is real talk. Another time here, Max Verstappen I'm not even gonna say schooled, put an awesome move on Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc not having much to fight with, I guess, maybe because it's kind of sad the same way we're giving the front wing in play being damaged some positive notions as far as the teams to take away from. He just set him up superbly in that overtake. He just did. And Charles wasn't there. So we'll see what happens on that. Also, Maria Duncan in the super chat saying, I'm going to say one last thing and then go to bed. I got you. I'm just glad Max isn't winning races like he was in 2023. Hey, but this is what we knew. But this is what we had talked about. That Red Bull, we're going to see. And remember what I said? I said this was a circuit Red Bull was very dominant in last season. If this comes out and they're not as dominant, we're going to know something. And here it is. They come out and no, they're not as dominant. We are knowing something right now. Red Bull are in a group, and I said this, I believe, I don't know if it was the sprint race or if it was before that, but I said Red Bull, it would be awesome to see 5 drivers in the top battling it out, and that's what we have. And really, right now, we have 6. Because Antonelli can't get in there, we have 6. Russell is the surprise. Russell's the surprise. McLaren's not a surprise. Ferrari's not really surprised where they're sitting right now, where they're finishing races. Verstappen's not a surprise. Russell and Mercedes are the surprise. I'm just wondering how much more Mercedes might improve. Because Russell's done pretty good at the start of this season. Max Verstappen, you got competition around you. What you gonna do? This is what he's doing. Not winning races. This is what you got. So they're gonna be a lot of crow pie. Yuki still, I do not blame what happened to Yuki at all on Yuki. I think it's unfortunate for Yuki, and Yuki's radio commentary was absolutely funny, man. Yuki was like, I'm ready to push. I want to use more fronts. And they were like, I don't think we should. He said, I do. And that is something that I would like to hear more of when it comes to Lewis Hamilton and making his calls. I think it's something that needs to happen for real. It's something that he's going to need to do. He's going to need to take over more. He's going to need to take over more decision making on his strategy, man. He's going to need to do that because we've seen it too many times that it hasn't worked out. And right now what's happening is they're having to understand each other's lingo. The engineer is having to understand, when do I need to tell him something? What information will he find important? And when do I need to not bother the man? When do I need to just say, hey, don't say anything to him? He's completely fine. Let him be. And when does he need to say, okay, you need to talk to me? And that's what they're trying to work out. And I think, honestly, right now, Lewis Hamilton needs to understand you may need to take over more strategy calling duties for yourself. Like, that's honestly what may need to happen. Because right now, I think he could have made a better call. Actually being in the battle of everything, I think he could have made a better call. And I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't know if that's something that Lewis Hamilton agrees with, because like I said, I think a big part of him is I have to let my team do the job that they're paid to do because they're supposed to be good at it. But there are moments where I just think Lewis needs to say, you're good at your job, but you're not good right now. You're good at what you do. You're great at what you do, but you're not great right now. And because I've been here so many times, I think that I'm making the better call. And I need you to do. Rambro 88 in the chat. What's up? There is a lot of season left for sure for Lewis to get in sync with Ferrari. I completely agree. It's a breath of freedom for Mercedes that makes me happy. And you know what? That is good. That is good. It's somewhere Merc is doing well. And George Russell, I think it's fair for me to say this. I don't know how hard it is for him to do it with Antonelli being a fresh rookie in Formula One. I'm not saying his standards are high right now, but he is leading Mercedes. He is getting Mercedes good points, not great. I hate when everybody misuses great. He's getting Mercedes good points, and he's there. He's presently assisting his team in a very good way. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that is what you need. So right now, as it sits, we'll take a look at this, because this is going to become more watched as we get into, later rounds of the Formula One season. Okay. This is definitely going to become more of a talk, more of a topic. So let's just start looking at it now. Right now, very few points between Lando and Verstappen, largely because Lando didn't finish first, or else we'd be looking at a bigger gap. But what is there is Max Verstappen is second, just 2 points behind Lando. I think that gap is going to grow, and it could not. Still very close. It's only two rounds. George Russell, 20 points, just 6 points off leading. Kimi Antonelli is fourth. I know in perspective, it's like he's not even, but he's fourth with 14 points. 14 points. Alex Albon is fifth in the driver standing. Williams has a driver in the top 5, although just the second round of the season, and there's a lot of racing to be done. But he is fifth right here. Oscar right now is ninth off of Lando, right? These things are going to be updated. Things are going to change. Lewis Hamilton is tied right here. He's seventh. Oscar sixth. Alex is fifth. These things will change over the time. I misspoke when I said night. I was looking at the points. These things will change over time. But if we look at last year's standings and we go into this, George Russell is sixth. Lewis Hamilton seventh. Carlos is fifth. Oscar, you don't have Williams at all in this top section at all. Williams with Alex Albon is down here somewhere. There it is. He's 16th. Alex Albon is 16th. That's an upgrade for right now. Being sick, that's an upgrade for Williams, man. That is an upgrade. We need Carlos Sainz to come alive, but I'm just saying that Kimi Antonelli, he looking good right now. He looking good. Russell, Mercedes looking good. Ferrari, I honestly believe, things are going to turn up for Ferrari. They're not doing horrible. They're not doing bad as far as their drivers. They're not doing the best job that they should be able to do with strategy and getting the car set up. That's not Lewis Hamilton and Leclerc. They're going to give their input, but the team, the mechanics, They have to make these calls. The strategists, they need to make these calls and see where we're trying to put this car in the window. Where does it need to be? And at this point in time, we noticed that they definitely lost some performance, a tenth of it, but that tenth, if it stayed the same, wasn't going to be enough to put him in pole position. And that's why they had to change some things. They had to. And changing these things sometimes might not necessarily lead to the best result, but this is the best time to learn. All seasons the best time to learn, but while it's early and you can make these changes to understand what the car will take and what it won't, what it likes and what it doesn't, we see now that when they get something the car likes, Lewis Hamilton's putting it on pole and Lewis Hamilton's going to win a race. And let's also think about this. Think about how long it went while Mercedes was fumbling around with their nose in the dirt and their head in the sand like an ostrich from all types of things. Think about how long it went before we saw Lewis Hamilton win any race with that BS car that Mercedes made. It's round 2. He's already won a sprint race event. He's already got on pole for a racing event. It's only round 2. That is beyond an insurmountable amount of progress. So there's nothing to be disappointed about in the grand scheme, but there are things that need to be critiqued and pointed out when it comes to Ferrari, and they need to get on board sooner than later. Don't mimic McLaren having a slow start to the season, trying to catch up on the back half or the back quarter of the season when 3/4 of the season's already beyond us, and trying to do something. That's not going to be the time. It's just not going to be the time. So, this is something that they need to fix. This is something that needs to happen. And hopefully they can make it happen. I would hope that they can. I would hope that they get it right. I would hope that they're going to get this car, because 90% of it changed. And that's something else they're battling. 90% of the car changed. So testing, I think the way they do testing now isn't the necessary most efficient and best format to provide these teams with as much information as they can to improve these cars. So almost the front part of the season, at least the first race through maybe even the 5th round, is still is still as if it's a prolonged testing situation for these teams. And Ferrari is having to understand this car because they changed 90%, more than 90% of it. Charles, yes, having kernel knowledge within Ferrari and the car, even though it's changed that much, it's still more familiar to him than Lewis Hamilton. So Ferrari, I still feel as if they have a lot of opportunity to make progress, just as many other teams do as well. And let's talk about the other elephant in the room. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room. I mean, because it is a situation that definitely needs to be talked about. And what I'm looking into is Lawson, which he has a new name. He has a new name. His new name is Slawson. It's not Lawson. And I need to change the timesheet. It's his new name is Lawson, which Mechanic Mercedes came up with that. And that new name is very fitting, and I think it's appropriate. So we will see where he goes from here with that. I think that, I'm going to tell you, I think that honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with my dog. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why my screens changed the timesheets, but I don't know what's going to happen with Lawson. And somebody had asked me, how long do they think that it's going to be before we see Red Bull pretty much tell Lawson, like, you out of here. And I said, maybe I'm kind of with Galactus on his call. A lot of times Galactus is saying, that was last year's chart. It's going to be by the summer. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you all that. How long do you think it's going to be before Red Bull? And I also said, I don't know if Red Bull are going to have the guts to do it. I don't know if they're going to have the guts to turn around and say and tell the world, we made a big mistake. But I will ask you all, I'll call him Slowson because I think that's the name that Mechanic came up with. So before, I'm going to give you a couple of options. Or by here you go. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you feeling about that. Cause I'm looking at it as if probably could be the break, honestly. Cause that's looking crazy for them. I'm telling you that it's not looking good. I just don't know if they're going to have the guts to tell the world that we screwed Yuki and we screwed him for no reason. I don't know if they're going to have the guts to do it. I think they'd rather ride it out and go down with the ship before they sit here and tell us that they made an extreme error in choosing Liam Lawson over Yuki. I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't think that that's something that they want to admit to us. I just don't. I don't think it's something they want to admit to us. I don't think it's something that they're willing to admit to us. And I don't think it's something Christian Horner wants to answer to. I honestly don't. I don't think Christian Horner wants to sit up here and after all that stuff that was done and said in DTS and that how they criticized Yuki, I don't think they want to come out and tell us that in that way that, yeah, we screwed up. We screwed Yuki. He should have got the Red Bull seat, because then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to have to sit here. Not only would you have to say to yourself, we already screwed Yuki over by not allowing him to have the Red Bull seat that he earned, but we literally are going to tell the world that we are going to overlook him again. Because that's essentially that's what you have to do. You have to tell the world you made a mistake. Then you have to turn around and tell Yuki, are you going to overlook him again? Because the only way to properly fix this and eat a good, because you're going to eat a good amount of crow pie regardless, but you can have a large helping if you don't, is if you say Yuki is coming up from the Racing Bulls to Red Bull, and Slauson is going back down to the Racing Bulls to race with Hadjar as his teammate. That's the best way to do it. You're still going to eat crow pie. But the worst way to do it, and the worst way I think that Red Bull would do it, is either they're going to stick and go down with the ship with Slauson throughout the season and hope he has a pop and all of a sudden starts performing to the point we can say, we told you. Eventually, Classic 2, we was eventually going to be right. He just had to get his bearings on him. Now look at him. He's finishing top 5. He's finishing 2-3 with Max Verstappen. I told you we just need to give him some time. Or he don't do crap, and you are not going to win the Constructors' Championship. I don't know which one of those 3 options they're going to do, but one of them's going to need to be done, because up until now, Red Bull shown us that you can change that seat twice in one season. We saw Alex Albon in, Alex Albon out. We saw Gasly in, Gasly out. We saw this. So it's not like you can't do it, but will they do it and say, Yuki, we made a mistake? You the man. I don't know. I hope they do, but I doubt it, because anytime that I hope Red Bull would do something that would be of good character and standing, they don't do it. They don't do things to me of good character and good standing. So I don't have any trust in them doing anything that remotely looks like the right thing. Not at all. So Yuki is going to ride it out there, and I don't know what's going to happen when the season ends, but we'll see what goes on there. We got Super Chat. Galactus says Red Bull will be slower in 26 with, man, talk about that. They go into a Red Bull, they go into a Ford power unit, and I think Ford's doing more to electronics, but Ford being involved in anything usually is not the best thing. I'm American. Ford has a lot of acronyms, and a lot of acronyms, they got more bad acronyms than good acronyms. Ford, most famous acronym known for Ford, found on road dead. Fix or repair daily. The only other one, good one I know is they try to say first on race day. And that don't happen a lot. So, yeah, and we talked about this. I even said it. 2025, we're going to see what they look like. 2026, Ford come in, things change. Might be even worse. I just wonder if Max Verstappen is still going to be with the team come 2026, 2027. Mary Beanie said before the break on Lawson and doing out by Flavio. Yo, damn, Mary Beanie. That's another good topic. Jack is doing whack. Jack, again, is not doing an absolutely decent job. Gasly is running out there with this. So, and he's a rookie, though. So I still have to keep a little bit of patience, because with all these rookies, Frank Toss said it best. These rookies come in, there's this unbelievable or very hyped expectation that they're going to come in and that they're going to perform as if they've been racing for years. And there's a growing phase there that a lot of the rookies don't get. And they don't get it because a situation took place with drivers like Oscar Piastri, and then slightly by Liam Lawson, and who was another driver that Colapinto come in and say, yo, you got to be able to perform right now. It's almost like they revert to the NFL. As a running back position, they expect you in a running back position in the NFL football to come in and you should perform right now. You don't have to do a lot with the route tree. We're going to hand you the ball and you do your thing. Versus like a quarterback and a wide receiver, they got to get in sync. You got to learn the route, how deep he's going to go. Okay, now I understand that. Then the quarterback trying to read the defensive coverage, receiver running back, we put that ball, we stuffing it right there. Do your thing, bro. It's really all you. You ain't got to be in sync with nobody. You just need to know the gap where you got to go. That's kind of what they expected. It was like an inflation moment for rookies. This is the real thing right here for rookies. Okay? And you got to keep it a buck. This the real thing with rookies, but don't sell it as it is, and then we find out it's not as it is advertised. Because we see right now Antonelli's doing his thing. You should have kept Lawson where he was as a rookie, and Yuki given his promotion as somebody who earned that respect and that right. And Jack Doohan is doing what he's doing because he's a rookie out here doing his thing, even though you try to ask him the question about how you feel you're not really a rookie. He's driving like a rookie. Made plenty of mistakes. Bortoleto, I think didn't Bortoleto spin out again? Was it Jack Doohan that spin out, or was it Bortoleto that spun out? But yeah, Red Bull, yo, I'm going to tell you right now, and I just wonder, I'm going to ask y'all this. Do y'all realize that if things continue this way, I don't see where these people at. Where are all these Red Bull hecklers at? You notice they haven't been in the live chat like that. Y'all noticed that? All the Red Bull hecklers, where are they? They're usually right here in the live chat. My moderators are usually having to delete comments because they saying obnoxious, ridiculous, either racist or sexist or derogatory things. Do y'all realize they are quiet? I'm telling you. More Red Bull, not even just Red Bull. Max Verstappen fans are like rats and roaches. When you turn the lights on, they get ghosts. Where are you? Where are you? Keep the same energy. As much as you talk, when your boy's up, talk to us now. Where are you? See, you don't have to run like a little rat in a hole in a roach when you keep things copacetic and cool, but where they at? But yes, Flavio, he definitely going to make some calls because I think they got Colapinto in the wings. Rookies won GP to show so far have not crashed. Yes. Bortoleto done crashed. He done spun out. I won't say he crashed. I think he did. Behrman, he showed us that he is traditionally a Haas driver. He tore that car up 2 times in one race weekend. Tore it up even before race day. Jack Doohan, he done had contact with a couple of drivers, couple of instances right there. Antonelli, to me, been doing his thing. Dog been rolling. He been rolling. So we'll see. We'll see how this is going to continue throughout. But big shout out McLaren on 1 and 2. I think this is something that we can probably get used to seeing this season is them 1 and 2. And you know, this is funny because I did want to look at this because I want to look at this. So let me try to bring this up because I think this is also kind of cool to bring in and see the difference between GPs. And I think that's what I was trying to do. And I kind of got lost as I started talking about something else, bringing it in. But this was what was on my mind, was to bring this in and kind of do a comparison on what happened from last time to this time. And where was he? So boo, 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 lot bigger, lot smaller right there. So let me see if I can bring that up so we can kind of bring it in a little bit. I think actually, you know what? I'm just going to read it off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to read it off. So as it sits right here, we got McLaren 1 and 2 in this race. All right. This time last year, when it was round 5, what did they end up having? Not as successful. I can tell you that, because I told you last time that Red Bull absolutely was dominant. But if we're looking at the race, last time Max Verstappen was first, Lando was second, Perez was third, Leclerc and Sainz was 4 and 5. Well, if we're looking right here, Ferrari are 5 and 6. So by a standard of just looking from year to year, they made one step backwards, but they're pretty much where they were. Russell was 6th. Russell is now 3rd. Alonso was 7th. He didn't get a chance to finish the race. Haas wasn't even in it by one car by Hulk, just at last 10. Haas got both cars in points. Ocon is in 7th and Behrman is in 10th. So I got to give Haas some credit right there. Joe was at least 14th. Sauber ain't nowhere. They down there in the order. And Yuki, unfortunately, wasn't a good time last time. It wasn't a good time last time, and it's still not a good time this time. So it's seeming like China is not the best race for Yuki. Honestly, it's seeming like it's not the best race for him. And I really would like things to pick up for Yuki. I do. But I do like what I'm seeing from the season so far. Mary Beanie says Flavio wants Colapinto and Yuki to Aston Martin. You know, Mary, a lot of people have tossed that around. And the only problem with Yuki to Aston Martin is, I got 2 problems with Yuki to Aston Martin. Not to say that I wouldn't like to see Yuki to Aston Martin with Honda. I would. But my 2 concerns are, if Lance Stroll's there, then Alonso has to be gone in order for Yuki to get any driving time. And they still got Felipe Drugovich, unless we're going to hear Felipe Drugovich is going to be coming in with Cadillac because he's been driving with Cadillac team. My other thing is, those are my 2 things. Unless Alonso's gone, Yuki's going to come there and suffer the Felipe Drugovich situation. It's just going to be sitting there. If Alonso's gone, unless Felipe's gone, do we see Yuki come in over Felipe? Because I don't think that would be right. The problem is Lance Stroll needs to be out of the seat. That's the problem. And I just don't see that happening. But if that happens, the only way for it to make good sense and productive sense and be a progressive move, Lawrence Stroll would need to kick his son out of the seat. And I just don't think he's capable of making that type of decision. And although Honda is, Yuki's big dog connected and linked up with Honda, Lawrence Stroll calling the shots in the Bucks. And I just don't see Lawrence Stroll making a decision which would be a better decision on behalf of the team if he's trying to really make some progress with Aston Martin and not go down in history as a absolute fool, would be definitely bring Yuki in, can Lance, put Felipe in the seat, give Alonso his walking papers, and bring Yuki in. And Lance Stroll's your reserve driver. That's what I would be doing. And I know a lot of people were all hyped during this race. The commentators on Lance Stroll and the laps, a lot of that was just due to being surprised about how the hard tires performed because nobody got on them for some odd reason. They didn't even think about trying them. But that's it. Lance Stroll is not in the points. If Alonso's not racing, Aston Martin can pretty much kiss points positions goodbye. unless adverse situations happen and the sun shines on a dog's ass, and Lance Stroll would be the dog. It's not happening. It's just something that's not going. What's up, Dave's Quattro in there? What's popping? So I don't know, man. Aston Martin is just disappointing. I was really kind of rooting for them and looking to see them do well, but Lawrence just is not capable of making the hardest and most critical decision in his team. You can bring in Adrian Newey, you can bring in Honda, you can become a works team, but if you got a subpar driver in that seat, you're going to have subpar ass results. And that is exactly what he's getting. The other point of order that I would like to point out, Hadjar. I think Hadjar is where Hadjar is. He's finishing races, and we'll see how he does as a rookie. But he's definitely in front of Dwayne and Lawson, so I'm cool with him doing his thing right there. And other than that, I want to see, because remember last year, Haas kind of came alive and we're doing some things. So I'm interested to know if Ocon and Behrman are going to kind of continue this situation of bouncing in and out of top 10 points, in and out of 11, 12, 10, 7, 8, 9, because that's kind of what they showed us at the end, and we were looking at them as if they turned a new leaf. And if this is something that they consistently do, the midfield is going to be crazy work. Midfield's going to be crazy. Once Sainz comes alive, has continuity, and gets in here, it's going to be crazy work. Now, I'm also going to look at the flip side of that. What if Sainz doesn't come alive? What if Sainz doesn't get on board for the rest of this time? I would think that would be a bit egregious. I would be a bit like, I didn't really see that happening. We were really battling for you to stay with Ferrari, and Ferrari kind of gave you the shaft, but not really, because Lewis Hamilton's available. So what are they supposed to do? They're not going to shift Charles Leclerc out of the door. That's their future, and you're not a better driver than Lewis Hamilton. Neither is Charles, really, for that matter, overall, looking at the body of work. So it kind of has to happen. But I would like to see him start getting online a lot sooner than later. Albon is showing that the car is fully capable of being in points. And Albon, even in the race, was saying, leave me alone. The car's good. I'm better than everybody. He's not better than 8 other people, but for Williams to be 9th, he wasn't wrong. So there it is. China GP, not China GP, because there's no R in there. Alex, Sam Collins, Palmer, there's no R in China. It's China. We will see what happens next. All right, we will see what's going to be in the next round of racing. And it is going to be one of my tracks I also like, which is Suzuka. And that's going to be an interesting event in itself. So, Japan is an unbelievable event. They go hard out there. They go hard with the costumes. They go hard with the different hats, the cars on the hats, the functioning hats, the makeup. I mean, Japan. I mean, my daughter wants to go to Japan one day. I'm telling you, it would be good if we could arrange that trip, because right now I cannot take any kind of trip like that right now. I can't. That's a whole nother topic right now. I'm working on even being out. It's a whole thing. But it would be cool to go to a Japan event in Suzuka. Just the atmosphere alone of racing fans would be crazy. And then round 4, we're back where they were testing. So maybe round 4 is going to be a situation or an opportunity for rookies to look a lot better on track, because they got the test here. That is going to be something fun and familiar for them. And if that's going to be the case, I am all for it, because they probably need that. They probably need that vote of confidence. Those rookies probably need the opportunity to feel comfortable at a racing event on track. And that would be a place, if it's going to happen, that it would happen, because they had a lot of laps there, and maybe having those laps there is something that will be beneficial for them. All right. Bahrain might be a place where they actually can start feeling great, Japan is another place where I think I'm just calling this. Mary Beanie in the super chat says that Sky F1 doing their usual talking to sleazy Christian Horner. Right, that's what they gonna do, man. That's what they gonna do, woman. They gonna do that, Mary. I mean, I hate saying man when I'm talking to a woman, so excuse that. But Lady Mary, that's what they do. They no good for that. But that's what I'm hoping can happen right here. Is Bahrain will be a good event for rookies to get a vote of confidence, a good boost of confidence in a season where things are pretty challenging, pretty not so fun for them. So maybe they get a little boost of confidence, feel a little bit more familiar, a little bit more comfortable. Teams will even feel a little bit more excited about their rookies may perform better here since we did a lot of laps here. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes on, all right? Well, it is 5:35 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. I am going to have to go and start some things up before I can even try to get any sleep. And I do appreciate you all being up this early with me, especially if you're on this side of the world. It is early for you. We got up probably around 02:35 to even start getting ready for watching the race. And now it is almost 30 minutes from 6 a.m. The sun's going to be coming up in a little while. So I really do appreciate you all joining me. I appreciate you all appreciating the channel. I appreciate you all being as dope as you are. And I will be setting up the announcement for Wolves Den so we can get in and have some conversation about, I can hear what you all thought about the race, hear you all's takes. Mary Beanie, Sylvia Wick, Dave's Quattro, Paul, he's a good listener. He kicks in every now and then. Racer X210's not here, but a lot of people, I will be posting that up. Galactus, see what you think about these rookies, because you always got me cracking up about the rookies. So I will be posting that. Matter of fact, when we get off here and I'm going through what I got to go through, I'm going to work on my phone and get that up so we can go ahead and have a time for that. So do be on the lookout for that. Maybe a little bit earlier than later, maybe around 1400, 1500 Eastern Standard Time. So, but either way it goes, I'm very excited to hear what you all thought about the racing event and the way it finished. So big shout out. I will see you all soon. Peace and love. We are out of here.